This is a recap for Monday, March 1st. Today's recap is going to be an answer key for CAMI week 20. That's last week's CAMI, pages 2 and 3. So I already have the answers for page 2 in here, so I will scroll through and you can stop at any point and check that. I have my work here, and the main idea here on this page is that when we have complex fractions, for example, I'll just change the color here to green. When we have 2/3 and we're going to divide it by 2 over 1, that becomes 2/3 divided by 2, and we can put over that 1. That's the same as 2/3 multiplied by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2 over 1 is 1 over 2. So that's what you see right here. And so the answer on, sorry about my dog, answer is equal to 1/3 for problem number 2. Problem number 4, the answer is 4. The problem number 1, the answer was 8. And then this is where those would go on the number line. So 1/3 is right here, 4 is right here, 8 is right here, and those are equal to these fractions. So these are just different ways of expressing that same value. And to simplify 6 over 2/3, remember this is like a division right here. That is division. So that's that right there. So we put this 6 and we put it right there. We can always put it over a 1. And then 2/3, that becomes, right down here, 6 times the reciprocal of 2/3. I take the 2, I put it at the bottom, I take the 3, I put it at the top, and that is a reciprocal, 3 over 2. Same thing here. Notice what happens to this 3 over 1. It becomes the reciprocal, 1 over 3. 3 times over 1 times 1/3 equals 1. That's what a reciprocal is. All right, here is the answer key for 1 through 8, and then I'll finish out the page. Let me highlight a few things. The answer to number 1 is 20. The answer to number 2 is 4/3, or 1 and 1/3. You may have got that. So either 4/3 or 1 and 1/3. The answer to number 4 is right here, 1 1/2. The answer to number 5 is also 1 and 1/3. So that makes me go back to problem number 2 and check to see what I got. And I think I was just doing, that was this right here. So going back to problem number 2, that answer I didn't box in, it's actually 9, or 9 over 1. So there's the answer. That goes to 2. The answer was 9. Sorry about that. Okay, problem number 7. The answer is 1 3/5 meters per second. So 1 3/5 meters per second. And we can just put it over a second, like per second is written that way. And if you're reading 1 2/3 pages in 1/6 of a minute, then you're reading 10 pages per minute. Okay, let's look at problem number 10. 2 1/4 inches in 18 hours. And we want to know per hour. So first we're going to change this to an improper fraction. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. 9/4 inches in 18 hours. So we're going to divide by 18, so we get to 1 hour. That's 1 hour right there. 18 divided by 18 is 1. So we're going to divide this 9/4 by 18. And so I'll just do my arithmetic down here. 9/4 times 1/18. 9 goes into 9 once, 9 goes into 18 twice. So this is going to be 1/8. So it's 1/8 of an inch per hour. 1/8 of an inch of rain in 1 hour. Or, so that's one way we could put the answer, or 1/8 of an inch of rain per hour. That's another way you could put the answer. Okay, let's look at problem number 13. And Marcia used 1 1/3 yards of fabric to make 2/3 of a costume. And we want to know how many yards of fabric will she need to make 5 costumes. Okay, so we're going to make a unit on this and then multiply it by 5. So I'm going to divide by 2/3, divide by 2/3. That's going to give me per costume. That's going to be 1 costume. And then my plan is to multiply that by 5. So I'm going to take 1 1/3, change it to an improper fraction. I'm just going to do the arithmetic over on the side. That's 4/3 divided by 2/3 is the same as 4/3 multiplied by 3/2. And those 3's are going to cancel out. That's 4/2. That's equal to 2. So that's kind of nice because it takes 2 yards per costume for 1 costume. That's a unit. That's not my answer. That's a unit rate. Now I can take that unit rate of 2 yards per costume, multiply it by 5, and it will not change the rate, and that will give me 5 costumes and 10 yards. So I could write it that way, or I could say in a sentence, she would need 10 yards of fabric for 5 costumes. Now let's go, it's always good to kind of go back to the original, excuse me, read it and make sure it makes sense. So Marcia used 1 1/3 yards to make 2/3 of a costume. So she uses a little bit more than 1 to make less than a costume. So if we were estimating, then she'd need more than she has, a little bit more. And so we could think of 2 as a little bit more than 1 1/3 to get her up to 1 costume. So if we kind of, even if we drew a picture of the fabric, like if this was 1 yard of fabric and then a third, let me draw another one. Okay, so let's say that this is her fabric right here. There's 1 yard, there's 1/3 of a yard, and this gets her 2/3, and I'm going to draw the costume down here. So here's her costume, and there, I'm just going to make a costume here and split it into kind of 3 parts. So this amount right here makes 2/3 of it, and she needs this amount. And so it seems like if she needs this amount, that would fill that in right there. That it would be 2 yards for 1. That seems to make sense. So we always want to go back and kind of sketch it out and make sure that we didn't make some arithmetic error, and I don't think we did. So 10 yards for 5 costumes. All right, and that is a recap for Monday, March 1st.